Hello, it's Jay here again and welcome to another video. So in this lesson we're continuing on with the special moves, and because the special move we're working on is going to create some sort of fireball, some sort of energy ball, obviously we'll need to get code in place to have that move across the screen. So we're going to begin a separate script for that now. There are a number of ways we could do this, but I'm going to do it a different way. I did originally consider using the same sort of code we used to move the player and opponent around, but I wanted to do something different, show you another way of doing things. So we're going to begin by creating a new C# script, and let's just call this SP1 movement. And we'll open it up for editing. And we're going to begin by right at the very top here, require component, open and close brackets, inside we're going to use type of, open and close brackets again, and we want a rigid body. And we'll put this into the comments, so attach rigid body with script if none is present. And we'll begin as always by getting the variables in place, so private, and we want of type rigid body, and we'll use the same naming convention just with the underscore in front as we normally do. Into the comments, so defines the rigid body naming convention, and we're going to use a vector3, so private vector3, and let's call this right movement vector. Into the comments, so creates a vector 3 with the naming convention of and I'll just copy and paste that in. Okay, now we'll put in some public floats and we'll make these public because you will need to obviously adjust these values in the inspector to find one that suits your project. I'm just going to set mine to equal 15F, and the naming convention is underscore projectile speed. So I've decided to make it a float just in case you want to use a value that isn't a whole number. Into the comments, defines the projectile speed, and another public float of projectile projectile lifetime. Let's use that. And again, we'll put in a numeric value. I'll just use 5 for now. Defines the life of the projectile. And now we'll come into the void start. So let's begin actually with the rigid body. We're going to say equal, get component, open and close brackets. Inside the brackets, rigid body, come to the end, we'll open and close brackets again, close the line off. And we'll just say we set the variable to the attached rigid body component, and I'll use line space. Now we'll do the right movement vector is going to equal vector3 dot and right. Close that line off, and again we'll just say we'll set this variable to equal vector3 dot right again. So with that in place, we're going to create a new function. So I don't normally use rigid bodies. I like to do normally everything with coding, but because we're using a rigid body this time, void update isn't the most ideal. Instead, we're going to use void fixed update. And obviously you can read about the different types of updates on the Unity wiki, which probably will explain things a little bit more in depth than I can do in these videos, so I encourage you to go and read about them. But we're beginning with rigid body dot, and we want velocity, and we're going to set that to equal the underscore and the right movement vector, and it's going to be times projectile speed. Close that line off. Now normally we used times time dot delta time, but we shouldn't need to use that because we're using a fixed update. I'll break this up for commenting. And we'll just say we're setting variables velocity to equal the right movement vector times the projectile speed. And we'll save that off. That's the basics in place. We have a lot more code for this script, but I'm going to leave it here for this lesson. We'll pick it up in the very next lesson where we can begin to test this out. As you've probably noticed, my voice isn't very good today, but I wanted to do a video for you. But this makes it a good time to stop and pick this up in the next video, and I shall see you then. And until then, as always, bye for now.